Well, welcome back to the final video in our 4-part video series on how to help property managers better understand the motivations of property investors. Now, in the last video, we talked about tax and lending. So if you haven't seen that video, I suggest you stop this one and go back and watch that one first. But in this one, Hayley, we're going to really lean into your experience here because what is it that property investors are actually looking for in a property manager?
Yeah, it has changed. So 25 years ago, we were reactive property managers. What I mean by that is, you know, if an owner rang you and said, hey, I need a rent review done, you'd do the rent review, but you weren't proactive about doing the rent review. Whereas now, if you miss a rent review, they're saying, well, I didn't get my $10 a week rent review, so you owe me $44 compensation because I missed out on a month of that increase. So we have to actually do the job that we're employed to do, right? And if we miss something, somebody's very quick now to say, hey, you haven't done your job. So really being proactive at property management can really increase not only the client's trust in you, but their asset value as well.
Yeah, because I think that's, you know, if I think about me with my property managers, I don't, like, I'm really appreciative of the admin that gets done, but
Yes.
where I really get the most value is communication and a relationship. And in some cases, my properties are interstate. So I'm not actually, like, my property manager's seeing them more than me.
Yes.
So it's almost like a proxy for my own eyes on the ground. So it's more than just fulfilling a role around process. It's actually, instead of property management, it's kind of like asset management, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is something that a lot of property managers don't focus on. So instead of going with a problem, go with a solution. Because, you know, if you've got an issue with a hot water system not working, instead of chasing landlords saying, oh, your hot water system's not working, what do you want to do? Ring the client and say, hey, your hot water system has stopped working. I need to get it fixed. I've already got 2 quotes. It's already over 10 years old. We're not going to bother about getting someone out to tell us that it's, you know, broken and you've got to get it replaced. Let's just get it replaced, right? So go with a solution and you get a lot quicker outcomes, and ultimately that's what you want, because otherwise you're going to pay compensation for not having hot water. So go in with a solution to any problems rather than going in with a problem.
I think that's a really good point, because if you think about I think it's important for a property manager to realise that quite often a property investor, particularly in the first 10 years of owning the property, they're not rich fat cats.
No.
Quite often they could be, on a delicate dance of cash flow in their own household. So for you to ring up and just say, oh, the hot water system has blown, and then it goes silent after that, they're already processing the fact, well, where do I
come up with the money?
This is not great timing. And whereas if you get a property manager that says, hey, listen, the hot water system's gone, to your point, it's 10 years, the existing one's 10 years old, versus the existing one's 18 months old. There's 2 different conversations you're having there. And here's the solution. And I recommend this because then the landlord doesn't have to process all of that stuff. All they then just process is, okay, where do I find the cash reserves to pay for this? So it is really important to understand, isn't it? That, and I think that can be lost, you know, in the day to day. That you know, you might even be dealing with a landlord that has 2 or 3 properties. Again, it doesn't mean that they are rolling and swimming in cash. It doesn't mean that they're wealthy. It means that they're aspiring at some point in time to no longer be in the accumulation phase. They're in the retirement phase where they do get the benefit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we also have to plan for the properties as well. So an example, go to a routine inspection, right? A lot of property managers will walk in, put the camera in the room, take their photos, walk out and go, yep, all good, out the door. you got to look at it and go, okay, how old's the carpet? Is, the carpet going to need to be replaced in 2 years' time? Does it need a paint? Because what I often see is property managers who don't plan for the future. So then they hit the owner, tenant says they're going to vacate, and they say to them, oh, we've got to spend all this money on the property. And they're like, you never told me. Like, I didn't know about this. So I think we have to be so much better at planning for the future and to actually keep the asset looking in the best possible light to attract the right kind of renter for the property as well.
It's kind of looking over the hill, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think you've made an awesome point. Like, the way that you avoid surprises is having that communication in advance. And actually, now that you understand the whole process that the investor's going through, you can go, okay, well, they do need to plan this cash flow.
Yeah.
They do need to sort of look over the hill and say, okay, to your point, we might need to replace the carpets next year, not this year, but next year. So that gives them 12 months to start thinking about these things.
Absolutely.
So it's not a surprise. What about, I guess, from a property investor's perspective, if you've got turnover of staff, that's never fun.
It's our industry, and it is. And you can have the best possible agency, awesome leadership, great salary for property managers, and they still go. So it is actually the nature of the job. We do see property managers turn over at quite a fast rate in some areas. So it is the nature of the job. But if the agency has really good systems and procedures and ensures that everyone's really well trained, hopefully that can have some form of continuity. But there'll be property managers watching this that know what it's like to jump into a portfolio that hasn't been well managed and having to pick up the pieces. And I've done that before, where I went into a portfolio of, it was one of my first jobs, but about 180 properties in my portfolio. And the previous PM had been there 2 years, so that's pretty good, but had not done a routine inspection in 2 years.
Wow.
So I jumped in and I started contacting renters going, hey, come through for a routine. I'd really like to meet you so that we can get to know you and the property. And they're like, oh, we haven't seen anyone ever do a routine. And I'm like, okay. And that wasn't just one or two, that was across the board. So, that was prior to us having cameras, fancy things like that. So it was they're just doing routines on the computer and typing them up and sending them out to owners. So desk side routines. So you've got those sort of problems as well with property managers coming into a portfolio that hasn't been well managed. That's where it's really important to build those clients, not the relationships with your clients, not just your owner. Your renter is equally as important to get on board.
So folks, we get it that some of you might be watching and going, yeah, that sounds great, but have you seen all the things that I've got to get through before I build the relationships with these landlords? And we're probably saying, yeah, you in particular get it more than most, but I guess if by understanding the concepts that we've been talking about in this series, it equips you to better understand the product that you're managing on behalf of your landlord. And if your landlord then gets that you get it, that then creates a relationship, which means that you're less reluctant to pick up it just becomes this snowball running down the mountain. So we don't want to be ignorant to say, well, we get that there's pressures and we get that there's workload as a property manager, but by having better quality conversations and crucial conversations at the right time with your landlords means that some of the reluctance to pick up the phone can disappear.
And that's one thing, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
It's my pet hate. Pick up the phone, have a conversation, because often the email volley between the client and yourself is not productive. So emails should be for confirmation of conversation, but pick up the phone in the first instance because it does build the relationship and the trust. And I have clients that, I ring and I say, I've done this. I don't ask permission, I tell them what I've done. Because at the end of the day, they've hired you to manage their asset and get them the best amount of value from it. So when you can actually get to that level with your client, that you're not asking permission, you're telling them what you've done, that's where you want to build to.
Yeah, it's human nature 101. So now a good friend of ours, Hermione Gardner, there's a couple of quotes I want to throw at you that she said, and I'd love your feedback on it. But one, property management is a system, not a mystery.
Yep.
And the second one is property management is a series of predictable surprises. What do you say about those two?
Absolutely. She's 100% right. The job, the property management job is the job. We just do what we need to do at certain trigger points throughout the tenancy. So where we earn our money though is when things go wrong. Right, so that's when we really have to work very hard for the commission that we earn. But the actual role is just a system. You just have to set it up and follow it. And it's, if you've built the relationship with the clients in the interim, everything else can be sorted out. So it's so important to actually build that relationship with the client at the beginning, because then if you do come across a hurdle, it's a lot easier to sort out and you can have really open and frank conversations with your clients.
Well said. So folks, what have we learned in this series? Well, first of all, we've in the first video, we gave you the bigger picture of why an investor invests in the first place. And it's largely because they're trying to self-fund their retirement. In the second video, we talked about the asset selection and helping you have some frameworks to better understand the filters through which your investors can look through before they decide. And sometimes your clients might not have looked through those, but at least it gives you the opportunity to be informed and an authority in the space to give them some advice. So that was the second video. In the third video, we talked about some really crucial concepts around lending structure and also tax, because they're two very important concepts when it comes to property investors. And then now in this fourth video, we hopefully sort of, particularly through Hayley's perspective, shone a light on what it is that a property investor actually is looking for in a property manager. So hopefully these videos have been able to serve you in not only better understanding your knowledge around property investing, but also helping you enjoy your role as a property manager a whole lot more. So what I want to do is encourage you, if you have any further queries or questions, get in touch with Hayley. We're going to put the details here on the screen, because this is what she does. She helps folks in their property management businesses understand how to better make sure it's a system, not a mystery, and better help them have these series of predictable surprises so that it actually makes it smooth. So tell us a little bit about how you do that.
Yeah, so Mitchell PT, I run training events around mostly Victoria, but sometimes interstate as well. And I can train on anything property management related. So I love legislation. I know I've been on your podcast with that. It's been a couple of times now. Yeah, look, there's more coming. Yeah. So I love that stuff, and it's kind of my wheelhouse. But I love, talking about structure of rent rolls and health checks of businesses and a whole variety of different things. Plus we run events as well. So yeah, I'd love it if people wanted to get in touch, to jump on our website and send me a message.
Yep, and here's the link here again, folks. And I'd encourage you to tune into the Property Couch podcast. It's a weekly podcast episode where we're informing our community on how to better invest. Our whole mantra is how to retire on $2,000 per week. So we break that down on the podcast. So not only for you personally, because you remember one of our goals at the beginning was to inspire you to want to be a property investor as well, but also help you better understand the whole industry and why property investing, it makes sense for investors to make you a better property manager. So check out the podcast. And also, if you'd like, I do select webinars with property management businesses all around the country, introducing the concepts to not only help you retain your existing book, but hopefully inspire the investor to maybe consider buy another investment property, which could ultimately grow your book. But Hayley, it's been fun. I think it was a good idea that we got together and created these videos. Any sort of final words that you might want to share with anyone who's watching this around better understanding what property investing is all about?
Yeah, I think if it has triggered any ideas, feel free to reach out to either of us. Like, we're happy to run through ideas, because I'd love it if property managers actually became investors themselves, and I know that you can help with that, and so can I. So yeah, if it's triggered anything where you go, gee, I'd really like to make change, now's the time to do it.
Now's the time, folks. I've got to tell you, property investing has been a wonderful experience for me and my family in setting up our own ability to have cash flow that supersedes our need to work for that money. So hopefully that's triggered a few sparks of interest in your world. But again, the whole purpose of these videos was to help you, equip you to be a better property manager by understanding some of these concepts. So we hope that you've got value from that. And if you have, we'd love for you to share it with other people. But on behalf of Hayley and I, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you'll check out the Property Couch and also reach out to Hayley if you need some help.